Right, well, happy Monday, Central Georgia. It's Meteorologist Ansley Parker here. I am still in for Meteorologist Alex Fry. Don't worry, he's okay. Taking a well-earned vacation, and he'll be back starting next Monday. So we'll be hanging out this week, doing the stream, talking a little bit more about your extended forecast. Now, there is a lot to talk about today, specifically in the form of tropics, which is something I'm really excited to get to talk about. I'm going to give you a lot more information, especially as we approach the peak of hurricane season. Now that's in September, but we're getting closer, so activity is ramping up. And I just want to give you some perspective, some information to hold on to, and we can talk about what we're seeing out there right now. So we'll get to the tropics in a minute, but we also are going to have a change in our own weather pattern here in the coming days in the form of 90-degree temperatures. I know it's been a while since we've had anything like that. We've been in the 80s for several days, but the 90s are going to be back on the 7-day forecast. So we're going to talk about that as well as the rain chances for the day today. So let's jump right into it. Right now, we're starting with the sky cams in all 4 areas, all showing a very similar sight. And I've been saying this all morning long, but it's a sight that you are very used to seeing. We have had cloudy skies to start the day for almost a week straight, if not more. And that is the case starting today off as well. Across all 4 sky cams, some pretty good cloud cover. Occasionally there's some breaks in the clouds. You may get peaks of blue sky from time to time. That'll be the case again today. I'll step out of the way so you can also see Dublin and Warner Robins here, but both of those sky cams are also under a pretty similar sight as well. The only real difference today from the last couple of days is you may have had a little bit of a brief shower on your way to work this morning. I know I did, and I have to go to work super early in the morning, but there was some showers really early this morning and then a couple that popped up once again closer to morning commute time. So overall, that's going to be one of the biggest things to note for the day today. There is a better chance at catching some scattered showers, especially as we head into the afternoon and the evening tonight. We're looking at some more widespread rain for the evening tonight and just a better chance at catching a scattered shower this afternoon. So as we get closer to the afternoon hours, you'll probably start to see the radar picking up a little bit in activity. The good news is there's no real chance of severe weather. These clouds are keeping our instability pretty low. We may have a couple of thunderstorms, but nothing's looking like it's going to reach severe criteria for the day today. So that's kind of the big story. Other than that, numbers from the last few days are going to stay the same for today as well, which means we are once again going to be in the mid 80s. And I'm telling you, if this has been your thing, take advantage of it today, take advantage of it tomorrow, because the 90s are coming back, but we're slowly going to work our way up there. So I'll show you more about numbers here in just a second, but we'll talk a little bit more about what we're seeing right now. We were really all kind of sitting in the mid 70s all morning long. Now that we've hit a little bit of the mid-morning time, we're mainly in the upper 70s. A couple spots still in the mid 70s, Wrightsville, Dublin, and Sandersville all hanging on to the mid 70s. McRae and Rochelle have made their way into the 80s. If Cordele was reporting, I would assume they're probably in the 80s as well. Elsewhere, we are in the upper 70s. Oh, Warner Robins also at 81 degrees. So somewhere between the upper 70s, low 80s this morning. And as we kind of turn to this map here, this is probably what you can feel when you're outside. This is what I felt when I stepped out the door. I almost audibly said to myself, oh my goodness, it is really humid out here, because we've been having actually drier air for the last couple of days. So this is a change to the forecast. We haven't really been sitting in quite as dark of a color on this map here. We've teetered between not bad and muggy for the last couple of days. So now to see the true dark green all across our entire area, not only that, but the dew points themselves are in the mid to upper 70s, which is a number that I would consider really, really humid or somewhat oppressive. It's humid outside. And you can also see by the way that these wind arrows are moving, which I'll flip it over to the wind graphic to show you that, the direction of our flow has changed a little bit, which is something you may have not known, but we were getting northeasterly flow for the last couple of days. Why is that important? Because when we were having the northeasterly flow, we were sitting under almost a wedge-like pattern, not truly locked in under wedge conditions, but it was helping keep the cloud cover there in the morning, have the rain chances up just a little bit, and overall kind of adding to the drier air and just generally the wedge-like feel that we've had for the past couple of days. That's kept our temperatures lower. We've had more cloud cover. All of that is now starting to change. So notice the wind barbs are coming from a different direction now. They're coming straight east. And as we kind of head into tomorrow, they're going to start to come from the southeast until eventually everything is going to be coming from the south, which means we're going to be filtering even more moisture than that, and the temperatures are going to have the chance to climb. So the reason that we're getting more moisture now is because these easterly winds are bringing in some moisture from the Atlantic, and that is keeping our dew points up a little bit and will also help with our rain chances for the rest of the day today. So here is how the current satellite and radar stands. There's a good bit of activity happening elsewhere. A couple of showers and storms off the coast of South Carolina, a few in northern South Carolina, stretching down into southern North Carolina, a little bit of a twister there. Down there on the panhandle of Florida, a couple showers there as well. So if we kind of talk more specifically about the central Georgia region, it's mostly clouds this morning. Again, I told you that early this morning there was a couple of showers that rolled across the area. It was really sprinkles at best. You may have had to hit the windshield wipers once or twice on your commute to work. Otherwise, what we're left with here is a couple of really light showers, mainly down here in our southeastern counties. You can see a couple of showers really isolated at that, in between Montgomery all the way into Telfair County. So here, Telfair, Wheeler, Montgomery, seeing a couple showers. Johnson, all the way kind of in the western corner of Johnson County, seeing a light shower there as well. Otherwise, it's pretty dry. And these are the areas that actually have kind of seen rain over the last 24 hours or so. Yesterday, we did have a couple of showers across the area that didn't quite make it all the way into the northwestern half of central Georgia. If we look at just the last 24-hour rain totals, you can tell where rain fell and where it didn't. This is kind of the dividing line here of where we had rain chances yesterday. So actually a good bit of rain over in Lawrence County. Dublin seeing close to, if not over, 4 inches of rain. Now these are rainfall estimates, so maybe close to that number there. Over towards Treutlen County, maybe over 2.5 inches of rain, and then over in Dodge County, 2 inches of rain recorded from the radar. So a good bit of rain fell yesterday. We will have another shot at rain for the rest of the afternoon today. If we flip it over to the future view, it does look like the chances are still going to be better in the areas that saw rain yesterday. South and east, remember our flow is coming in from the east, so that's where the moisture is a little bit better, at least right now. But there is still a chance for our northwestern half to see some today. We'll keep pushing all this moisture, hopefully all the way across central Georgia. I say hopefully just so that one area is not completely bogged down with the rain chances for the rest of the day today. These are scattered rain chances, not necessarily going to be a certain reason why they land somewhere. They're going to be scattered, and a couple of these will be isolated like what you're seeing right now. But as we head into the evening, a lot of these will probably join together and then move as one, which means by the time we're at 6, 7, 8 o'clock tonight, we're looking at a better shot of heavier rain, more widespread rain across the whole region. Just a better shot overall at kind of what I would call a wash. That will be this evening. So if you got to do something outside today, I would do it now. As we kind of head into the afternoon, scattered showers that you may be able to duck and dodge will be there. And then heading into the evening, I think we're going to be under at least parts of central Georgia. We'll kind of experience a bit of a wash for the evening. The good news is, if you're not a fan of the rain, you've had enough of it. I know we've had a lot of it over the last couple of days. Monday will be the highest rain chance that you're going to see on the 7-day forecast. Remember, I said our pattern is changing. So as we head into Tuesday, we'll start to experience the beginning of that change in the form of hopefully some slightly clearer skies. We'll likely start Tuesday off the same way that we started this morning off, with lots of widespread cloud cover. As we head into the afternoon, there may be some more peaks of sunshine in there. Definitely less of a rain chance, but it's not zero. A couple of isolated showers will begin to pop up in the afternoon with the heat of the day. I don't necessarily think these are going to have crazy great coverage, but you could catch a shower or maybe a brief thunderstorm tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. Not quite a great coverage as today, but there is still a chance of rain for Tuesday. Wednesday is going to be another day like Tuesday, a couple of isolated showers. Actually, this most recent model run having a bit better coverage. I'm not totally sure if I buy that. One thing I can say for certain for Tuesday and for Wednesday, if you are in our western county, so let's say kind of west of I-75, you've got the best shot of rain for Tuesday and Wednesday. That's where the moisture is filtering in from and where some of the energy is filtering in from for Tuesday and Wednesday. So that's kind of the best shot of showers, at least for Tuesday and Wednesday. Otherwise, I think everybody else is going to see a couple of isolated showers throughout the day, Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday, we kind of start returning to the typical summertime pattern. So if we play it out on the long range here, you kind of know the drill with the long range. It's kind of hard to tell if we don't have something majorly organized coming our direction, then it usually just looks like blobs, and that's okay. That just means we're returning to the typical summertime pattern starting probably sometime late Wednesday, heading into the second half of the work week. So isolated rain chances Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, where it's just kind of that afternoon and evening pop-up showers and storms. Not necessarily a wash on any of those days, and overall I think the trend is decreasing rain chances for the second half of the work week and for the upcoming weekend. So hopefully we can have some clearer skies. We'll have moments of rain, but overall I think we're going to return more to kind of where we should be for the month of August. It'll feel a bit more reminiscent of summer and less like this false fall that we've been having over the last few days. I know that's not super exciting for everybody, but hopefully some clear skies can kind of be the, I guess, relief to some of the higher temperatures that we're going to be having. So with that being said, let's turn to the tropics and talk about what we're seeing out there right now. Now, I mentioned that we're kind of entering a little bit of an uptick in activity, which is totally normal for this time of year. The sea surface temperatures have kind of peaked, so they're at their warmest right now, or they will be at their warmest heading into September, but they're getting to their warmest. And we're just at the time where we tend to see a lot of tropical waves rolling off of the west coast of Africa specifically. So that's kind of what's happening right now. And let's just kind of talk about what's out there. So as of this morning, actually as of this 8 a.m. update, the National Hurricane Center went ahead and added on a third area of potential development that they're watching. We've been watching two Invest 96L and Invest 97L for the last couple of days. Even I think 96 has been there for almost a week, if not more. This is the brand new one that they started watching this morning. So what exactly is it? This is a low pressure system, a non-tropical low pressure system. So this is a run-of-the-mill low pressure system like we would have in our area. The reason that they're flagging it at all for potential development is because of where it's sitting right now. This is where the Gulf Stream is, and that tends to have a lot of really, really warm water for this system to potentially work off of. The reason that it still has really low chances of development is because of where it's going to be moving. It's going to be pushing towards the north, so notice the yellow circle is actually where it needs to develop. Once it starts moving, it loses its chances of development because it's going to move over some much cooler water. So overall, it's not really looking to be super impressive. It could start to show some signs of tropical characteristics, but overall, do I think this is going to be our next named system of the season? No. Do I think it's really going to be a named system at all? No. It's got low chances of development in the next 2 days, only at 10%, and low chances of development in the next 7 days. If this could be 0, I could see the National Weather Service dropping this, or the National Hurricane Center dropping this down to 0 because of, again, where this system is going to move. And it's forecasted to start to move into those cooler waters as we head into the next second half of the week. So this really does need to happen over the next 2 days, or it's not going to happen at all. Overall, not really concerned about it. We'll keep our eye on it and see what it does, but I really don't think it's going to do much. Further south in the central Atlantic here, this is Invest 96L. I keep throwing that word around, Invest. If you're not familiar with the term, the National Hurricane Center gives these areas of potential tropical development the name Invest if they think it's a system that's going to develop further into a tropical depression or a tropical storm within the next 7 days. So Invest 96L was given the name Invest a while ago when it had much more promising chances of potential tropical development. It has sat in the same spot, just kind of drifted slowly further towards the north, and because of Saharan dust in the area has really struggled to organize any further, which is okay. We don't necessarily want to have more systems than we need to have this season. So overall, 96L also looking to lose its chances of potential development here in the next couple of days. The National Hurricane Center is holding on to its chances. It's still an area of disorganized showers and storms that they say could gradually come together. Overall, over kind of the last 2 or 3 days, the National Weather Service has just dropped and dropped and dropped, and now we're at basically the lowest that we're going to go in terms of chances of development. 10% in the next 2 days, 10% in the next 7 days. Similar to that other area of potential tropical development, I'm not really thinking we're going to see much from 96L. I think it's kind of outlived its chances. On the very opposite end of the spectrum is Invest 97L, and this I actually do believe is going to be our next named storm of the season. This has highest chances of development over the next 2 and the next 7 days, just about as high as they can get without the National Hurricane Center saying, yeah, this is going to be a system. 90% chance in the next 2 or the next 7 days. So let's talk a little bit more about what that means. So what this was a tropical wave that pushed off of the west coast of Africa. It moved into the Atlantic. It's right kind of to the west of the Cabo Verde Islands right now, producing this area that you can see below the region here of showers and thunderstorms. So what's been happening is it produced some disorganized showers and thunderstorms, and the area got larger and it's starting to organize a bit better. That is the reason for the certainty of development over the next 2 days. You'll also notice, and if you may have been watching with us, the National Hurricane Center had this area being a lot larger, extending much further into the Atlantic. They've trimmed it back to what I would consider to be a relatively small area of potential development. The reason for this, there's some pretty good certainty that this is going to continue drifting just to the west here, and as it enters just this very small region, we'll probably see it turn into a tropical depression. And then beyond that, the National Hurricane Center is probably going to come back and figure out what they think this system is going to do in terms of its strength and in terms of its path. So don't be surprised if sometime later today, even sometime later this morning or early afternoon, we have a tropical depression. That is kind of something that the National Hurricane Center has said verbatim we're expecting to happen at some point later today. So this would be potentially Tropical Depression 5, I believe. And it would continue drifting towards the west. After that, the certainty goes down a little bit. There is still some certainty that this is going to develop further. Again, I still think that this could be our next named storm of the season. That would be Tropical Storm Erin. But in terms of its path and in terms of strengthening beyond that, becoming our first hurricane of the season, there's a lot of ifs. So let's kind of turn to the spaghetti models to talk a little bit more about what I mean specifically. I only have the GFS pulled up here. Just kind of keep in mind that there are a lot of other ensemble plots from the European model that are not listed on here. So there's a lot of other possibilities that are out there as well. But what I want to show you by showing you the spaghetti plots here is that there is some pretty good certainty, at least within the next 2 days, of where this tropical wave is going to start drifting right to the west, kind of in what we call the main development region of the Atlantic, where the waters are very warm. But while it's in this region, it's got to overcome a lot of things. The waters are not quite as warm as they could be, as they are further towards the west. The waters are actually much warmer further in the western Atlantic. Here, they're not quite as warm as they could be just yet, but warm enough for something to develop. Also within this region, there is a good bit of Saharan dust out there. So the system has enough of its own moisture right now to sustain itself, but it's got to keep being able to do that. It's going to be a slow progression. Either way, the models are in pretty good certainty that this is going to be drifting this direction. Watch what happens once we go beyond the region that the National Hurricane Center has outlined here. You can see this, the spaghetti plots take a really big spread here, and that is because there's just not a lot of certainty of what this system is going to do after it drifts just to the west of where it is right now. So you're probably going to hear about this system a lot as we get closer to the peak of hurricane season. Interest in the tropics is going up. I want you to kind of remember what I'm showing you here, because you might see maybe one model run that takes this up towards the United States, or you might see one that takes this way out eastern into the Atlantic. It really just depends, and we have to see what happens within the coming days before there is any sort of certainty about where this is going to go beyond just west of where it is right now. So there's just kind of a lot of disagreement, a lot of different possibilities with this thing. And I just kind of show you that to show you we really know about the next 2 days, and then after the next 2 days we'll tackle what's beyond that. And I don't want you to see what happens on social media and think that that may be the truth, because ultimately we really don't know what's going to happen beyond the next 2 days or so. So we'll be keeping our eye on this. If they do end up calling this a tropical depression, or if they do end up naming this Erin, then we can get a little more certainty. The National Hurricane Center can issue their cone, and then hopefully the models can come together a little bit better on that. But there are a lot of things that could happen in the next couple of days that can weaken this system, or that could help with its strength. So we'll just keep an eye on this over the next couple of days. I've said that several times, but that is really the main takeaway with the potential track of what could potentially be the next named storm of the season. I mentioned that this would be the 5th named storm of the season. That would take the E name on the list, which would be Erin with an E. Whether that's a tropical storm or hurricane, that would be the name that it would take. Now, we actually have yet to see our first hurricane of the season so far this year. Now, on average, that tends to occur on today's date, August 11th. So I would say we're going to trend behind that date. We're not looking at a hurricane to form sometime today. So we will be behind average in terms of the formation of the first hurricane. Not really necessarily saying that this is going to be our first hurricane, but on average, that is the date that it typically occurs. I also mentioned we've seen a lot of a big uptick in activity over the last couple of days. August all the way to October accounts for typically on average 11 to 12 named storms, which when we look at the average for hurricane season, that is a pretty good chunk of the actual season. So that's why, again, I mentioned entering the peak of the season. That's kind of where we're at right now, just to kind of show you the projections from Colorado State and from the National Hurricane Center. This is kind of the thought here of the upcoming season. This is just all to give you a pulse check for where we're at. So we'll keep an eye on that Invest 97L. If you hear it being called Tropical Depression 5 at some point later today, that's kind of expected, and then potentially it could become Tropical Storm Erin, and then there's a lot of questions that we'll answer as we kind of get into the next couple of days. So that was bringing it back out. Let's bring it back in here in central Georgia and talk a little bit more about the numbers before I head out. So yesterday's high was 87 degrees. Now that is a good bit below average. We've been in the 80s for the last couple of days as well. It's been really pleasant. It's not been quite as hot as it could be, especially coming off of the triple digits that we had previously. Over the next couple of days, we are going to slowly creep our way back towards average for this time of year. In fact, on the next 7 days or so, we're not expecting to even be at average, but we're getting a lot closer than we've been for the last couple of days. So today again will be 80s. Tomorrow will be your last day of 80s before we find 90 again heading into the middle of the work week. Then Thursday and Friday, we're going to hang out close to average in the low 90s. Again, this is not so bad. We're not climbing above the mid 90s. We're not expecting upper 90s here for the next couple of days, but it's definitely going to be noticeably warmer over the next couple of days. There is a look at your 7-day forecast, just kind of echoing everything I just told you. The biggest change over the next few days will be the numbers. You'll probably notice that it's going to feel a lot warmer, at least the second half of the week on, but the rain chances will taper off. So I said it's kind of a give and take. Right now we have cooler temperatures with cloudier skies and rain chances. The second half of the week we will have warmer temperatures with clear skies. So it's just a little bit of a give and take. Hopefully though, that means that the weekend will continue to have rain chances that taper off. It will just probably be a warm weekend at that. So we will continue to stay up to date with the tropics and everything else going on. Of course, I'll be back here again at midday, and you can join me tomorrow once again at 10:30 for the latest on your weather impact extended forecast. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful Monday.